If you know me, you know that I really appreciate depth and complexity. And I was initially pretty resistant to being on social media because I thought that all of the reels were too superficial and there wasn't a lot of meaning that could get conveyed in a short amount of time. But there is somebody that I came across that I really appreciated. Her name is Gellyahnah, and she does these soul contract readings. And after a couple of her reels, I felt compelled, and it's not something I typically do, but I did a reading. You can get a reading with her directly, or you can do it for yourself. And I did a deep dive into that. And with it comes an energy healing. And I really enjoyed the energy healings. And when I was going through a particularly challenging experience, I was doing them daily. And I started referring my clients to them. So I think it's a really good resource. She has a whole library of these energy healings that you can use and access on all these different topics. But basically, it's the energy of source coming through you, and you just get to lay there or sit there and receive. So if you need to be in a practice of receiving or gentle healing, I recommend that you check her out. So Gellyahnah is my guest today. She is a channel for divine wisdom. She merges sacred sound frequencies, soul contract channelings, and energetic healing into powerfully resonant teachings that are transforming the lives of seekers around the world. With over 500,000 followers on Instagram and a waitlist of thousands for her sought-after soul contract readings, Gellyahnah is not just a spiritual teacher. She's a voice for those awakening to their deeper truth. And I echo that, and I hope you enjoy our conversation. Welcome, Gellyahnah.
Learn how to live embodied. Your life is about to unwind. Uncover new tools and start healing. Leave trauma and tension behind. Isn't it great? Laid open. Let all your desires come true. How can you live laid open? Imagine yourself brand new. Imagine yourself brand new.
I'm so happy to have you here.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. I'm so excited.
I have thoroughly been enjoying your monthly energy healings, and so that's something that hopefully we'll talk more about further into the episode. But I just wanted to get to say thank you directly to you.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure. Truly, it's like my heart's and my soul's work. So when people show up, I'm like, oh, I'm doing God's work. Okay, we're good.
Let's get some basics out there for people. And really, there's the distinction. You do soul contract readings, and just to start with, what's the distinction you make between soul and spirit?
Oh, that's a good question. Gosh, I prefer the word soul. And I maybe spirit and soul is used interchangeably. I'm not sure. I'm a soul girl. I use the word soul. I've never looked into the difference, so I don't know that I actually have anything to say about it.
Okay, that's totally fine. And so what is a soul contract reading?
Right. So first let's talk about what the soul contract is and then the reading. So the soul contract, this is a divine promise that the soul makes to its higher self and to the creator, to its guides before it reincarnates into any given lifetime. And so the soul chooses, all right, this is the set of experiences that I'm going to have. This is the karma I want to heal. These are the souls I want to have particular interactions with. You know, we're going to help each other grow, evolve. And it can get more granular than that. It depends on the soul's journey. Each soul's unique, but essentially it's this divine promise. So what the soul contract reading is, and particularly what I do, is I take your birth name and I decode the sound frequencies within your birth name. Okay, birth name being, this is the name that's written on your birth certificate. I decode it, and then by doing that, I'm able to see the karma that the soul wanted to bring in, your unique talents, the goals, and ultimately what is the overarching purpose of this entire incarnation.
Mm. And so how does that work if somebody changes their name or if they get married? That's irrelevant. It's because it's the name that's on their birth chart. I mean,
Yeah, it's not irrelevant. It does come into play. However, your birth name is always the dominant vibration. Think of it as your birth date, right? Just because you now have a wedding anniversary, that doesn't change your birth date or time. So changing your name, it's very similar. What it does is it adds an extra layer, but this layer sits on top of your birth name. So where it matters is that when you change your name, you can bring in clashes into your name.
Mm.
You could keep it neutral, or you could bring in positive energy into your name. So it does matter, but it doesn't necessarily change your purpose, if that makes sense.
Okay. What about if people, so for instance, my name is Charna, and that was my great-grandmother's Yiddish name. So there are people who have Hebrew names or, other family names. They have really long names, 3 middle names. I don't know how much actually gets fit onto somebody's birth certificate, but how do variations like that play out?
Yeah, it's whatever's written on the birth certificate.
Okay.
If it's not written, we're not going to use it. And if it's written, we're going to use it. Some people's last name gets left off the birth certificate, so we don't use it.
I think, with mine, there was the question, I think my original birth certificate, it just said baby girl because they hadn't decided yet. And it's like, oh God, what do we do here?
Yeah. So did I send you the chart for baby girl?
No. I found out that, I think it was my real name was put on there.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I've done that before where like people are sometimes skeptical. They're like, okay, but then I send them the chart and they're like, wow, this can be more accurate. So the thing that gets written on your birth certificate, it's never an accident. This is the soul, because the soul always knows what the situation is going to be. And even if your name is misspelled, I take the misspelled name.
Wow.
And then, we hear these crazy stories where like, mom was planning on naming the kid, Johnny. And then mom has the baby, mom passes out, and dad's like, I think I'm going to name him David. Right. So, there's so many crazy stories, but the name that gets recorded on the birth certificate in whatever shape and form is always the most dominant.
It's wild. And how does it work with the sound frequency? Can you explain that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So sound is extremely powerful when it comes to creating our reality. Okay. Even if we take the most traditional biblical story, okay, regardless of your background, whoever's listening, we've all heard the story. In the beginning, there's nothing until God starts to speak things into existence. So of all the ways that God could create, we're told it's through speaking. It's through sound. In Hinduism, we have the Om, which is said to be the primordial sound of all creation. I mean, Judaism talks about this a lot, but in particular, there's a book called the Book of Creation. And in there, it is literally spelled out how each letter of the Hebrew alphabet was used to create the universe. And that's actually the method that we're doing, is we're following the method within this book called the Sefer Yetzirah for understanding the definitions of the frequencies.
And so, side question, I've thought about this when you do your energy healings and there's a transmission. It's a 2-part question.
Okay.
I've wondered about, is it the frequency of your voice that's doing the healing, or is there some energy that's landed through you're a conduit for this energy to land? It's your presence that then transmits something, or is it or what you're saying, or all of the above?
Actually, I think it's all of the above. So the creator work that I do, so this is different than the readings. The creator work, what we're doing is I'm literally channeling the energy of the creator, source, God, universe, whatever word you want to use. Everybody has a different word, but it's all the same. I use the word creator. And the creator energy is coming into my aura, into my soul. It's a direct soul to soul connection between my soul and the creator's soul and whoever's in session with me. So the energy is passing through me, but it's not my energy. I'm literally channeling creator energy, right? So people often ask me, do you get tired? And I'm like, no, like I feel like I want to run afterwards because I'm getting infused with the source of energy. Like, hello, it's, it's actually very powerful. Having said that, I do know that our unique voices also have the ability to unlock and activate things within people. And we all have a unique ability, right? I mean, sometimes you hear somebody sing a song and it's like, oh my God, something just moved in me.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so the people have that ability. So for me, I can't sing at all. But I have discovered in the last few years that my voice does carry a particular vibration when it comes to doing these energy sessions. So the actual healing, I believe, comes from the creator, but not to minimize my own voice. I'm sure there's something to it as well. And then the energy follows my words. So the words that I write for these recordings, right? And for those that haven't been to one, this is not a 15-minute meditation. This is a 90-minute session where I'm speaking over music, and it's pre-recorded, and then I channel the energy live, but my voice is pre-recorded. So I write it, right? I take time to sit down to write it, and then the energy follows the words. So oftentimes in the sessions, people will say, it's so crazy, Gellyahnah. And before you said the energy is going to come and touch my toes, I'm making it up. I was already feeling my toes moving, or, but like, right, it's almost like before I say it, a lot of people actually experience what I'm about to say.
And so then, because you listen to it live, or you can get the recording later. And so this is the other part of the question is the transmission that's happening live through you for the people that are listening. It also happens on the replays. Is
Absolutely.
that right?
Yes, because the energy gets encoded into it. That's always one of my very particular intentions in doing the sessions, is for the energy to get encoded into the session. Because I also have like 3 versions of it, right, within the membership, because there's the live one that we do and we record that one, but then I have the pre-recorded ones. And I have it in the 90-minute session, I have it in the 60-minute session. So those are infused with the energy before we even do the live calls. So technically you could go in there and do it without me and still get the same transmission.
I can testify to that. I was going through a challenging situation and my system felt quite dysregulated, and I was doing your healings at night before bed and in the morning when I woke up. And I was sleeping really well despite waking, being like, feeling totally.
Yeah.
So I certainly felt the energy of it. So
that's amazing. I love to hear that. And there's, people ask me how often can I do them? How often should I do them? And I say, well, that depends on how fast you want to heal or move through whatever is happening. Sometimes I have weeks where I'll maybe do like a few sessions, just kind of maintenance, there's nothing crazy going on. And other times something happens in my life and I'm like, oh, that doesn't feel good. So then I have to sit in session. I don't have to, but I choose to, of course, to move that energy. Like something happened last week and it was hanging over me like a black cloud. Like I just could not get rid of it. And I did one of the sessions, and it was like a few days later, somebody asked me about the situation. I'm like, oh my God, I completely forgot about it. Like it was moved out of my aura to the point where until somebody asked me about it, I didn't even realize I wasn't thinking about it, even though just days before it was hanging over me like a black cloud.
Right. This kind of comes to the soul contract in general, that there are these things that have these karmic or intense energetic charges, possibly not just from this lifetime, but other timelines, other lifetimes. And that by doing healing work, we can, decharge the energy, and then they don't have as much of an emotional impact. We don't take things as personally, or they're just not even in our consciousness.
Right.
And so I'm curious for you in terms of, healing. It's such a spiraled path. There's so many different phases of it for people. How did you come to soul contract work? And briefly, can you touch on some other tools that you came across before this became your primary method, or something so powerful that you felt you needed to offer it to others?
Yeah, for sure. So I was born this way, I guess. I mean, I thought everybody was like me. I actually didn't even realize that I had interests that other people didn't. I was always, as a little girl, I was obsessed with horoscopes. I was obsessed with like looking up at the sky to see if I could see like spaceships. That was like totally a hobby of mine at 5 years old. As I got older, like joking but not joking, if you walked into my bedroom in high school at any given moment, it looked like there was a seance going on in there, because I had candles, I had, the incense sticks, I had like, how to analyze your handwriting, how to do your numerology. I was obsessed with psychics. I'd go to the mall with my friends and they would go to like Abercrombie and Fitch, and I would run to like the psychic store, couldn't afford them, but I was like, well, maybe somebody will pick up on my energy and give me a message. And that actually would always happen. Like, that's insane. I'd go in there and some psychic would come up to me and be like, excuse me. And again, I don't know if they were trying to get me to buy something, but I was clearly a kid. Like, I didn't have money, I'm like, oh, I can't afford you. So I guess when you ask me previous modalities, I mean, I feel like I've tried a lot of different things, but I never really thought that this is something I would be doing. In fact, there's a story I tell. When I was 32, I must have been about 32. I went to a psychic fair because at the time I was married. And I mean, the relationship was pretty much over, but I just couldn't, I didn't know how to leave the relationship. And to give some background, I was with this man, with my ex-husband, for 17 years. I met him when I was 17. I recognized him immediately as my soulmate. So there's a lot of confusion for me. Now, of course, knowing what I know now, he is maybe one of my soulmates, right? But I didn't know that at the time. I just knew the moment I looked into his eyes, like I recognized him. And that was at 17. So anyway, so I went to the psychic fair, and I sit down in front of the psychic, just a random lady. I just picked her, and she looks at me and she says, "You're sitting on the wrong side of the table. You should be doing readings for people." And I'm like, great, I picked the kooky psychic. I was so far out of my realm that I would be doing readings for people, because up until this point, this was just like something I was interested in. The mystical things of the world. The psychic, what she said to me is what helped me leave my marriage. Now, she didn't actually say anything psychic to me. I mean, for my marriage is what I mean. She just said, she put sense into me. Like, literally, she said to me, "What are you doing?" And I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? It was such like, it wasn't even a psychic thing, but it was like, she just said something so obvious to me. And I was like, okay, I have to end the marriage. So I ended the marriage, and then I was 35 when the divorce came through. Now, the reason I'm telling you this in such detail and giving you my age is because age really does matter. 35 to 42 is when we enter our 7-year spiritual awakening cycle. And with my clients, this is where I see some of the most challenging times of their lives. I'll see marriage, divorce, career change, car accident, health issues, moving cross country, you name it. Like, there could be so many things happening for people during 7 years. And it's because the infrastructure of your life is being shaken up, because everything up until the age of 40 is research. 40 and above is when life truly begins. We hear this in Kabbalah, and Carl Jung famously said this, what I just said, but the research. So we essentially 35 to 42, the soul is coming online a little bit more. The soul's desires and saying, okay, ego, you've had your turn. Now it's my turn. And so there's this big tug of war between the ego and the soul. Okay, so at 35, my divorce came through. I started to go on this healing journey, and it was one of those things that one thing led to the next. And at 38, I'm sitting there and I'm watching an interview with my teacher about this work. And the moment he came on and started talking, I had a full-on physical reaction. Every cell in my body was like on alert, pay attention. Like, it was like a full just watershed moment. And I mean, I tell people I went down the rabbit hole and I'm still down there. You know, that was 38. I'm turning 45 this year. So whatever that math is, it's been a little.
That was one of the questions I was going to ask you, actually, was about that, about when you got your soul contract reading. Was there a somatic experience that you had? Did you feel the truth of it landing in your body in a particular way? And how have you used your body as a pendulum to be discerning around what feels true and what doesn't feel true for you?
Yeah. So it's so fascinating because I actually never had anybody give me a reading.
Okay.
I deciphered it on my own,
Mhm.
and but yeah, it was like all of a sudden my entire life made sense. That's what I felt. My life just made sense, and that's what I wanted to help other people with. Is I want other people to understand themselves and what's happening to them.
Yeah.
So my readings are very practical. You know, like sometimes people come into me and they're like, am I from, what galaxy am I from? And I'm like, all right, like I get it. That stuff's cool. But like, no, we're talking about your current life. Or, you know, like that's what I focus on is what's the practical?
Mm-hmm.
And how do we get you out of your karma and into the healed version of you so you can actually do what your soul pre-planned?
Mm-hmm.
That's my goal, because like that's the grounded aspect of it. Like I had a client right before we're doing the interview, and he went so far into the spiritual. I was like, buddy, you got to like come back down to earth. Like you're still here in the human form living this life, right? So
yeah, using your body as a divining rod for truth is kind of the way that I think about it, and knowing it. But you said you created your own chart. You didn't get a reading from somebody else, and then
correct. Yeah. So as far as using our bodies, it's fascinating. I don't use my body. I think the way you use your body, and I have your chart in front of me, so I understand why you asked me that question, but I don't have that frequency. So you and we feel truth differently.
Oh,
you get gut feelings.
Right.
Yeah. So that's in your chart. Like you actually have this connection to your gut. Whereas for me, I read energy a little bit differently than you. So I feel I don't actually use. People have asked me that before, and I'm always like, what are they asking me right now? And what I've learned to realize is that we all actually receive just a little bit differently.
Yes. So brings me to a question that I've sat with. It's a little bit of crisis of faith, or kind of like, so there are practitioners that are excellent fits for certain clients, right? I know that I am not the right practitioner for everybody. But it comes to this place, and so this goes into human design a little bit, like that gut. It's called splenic authority in human design, if you get into all that. And so here's the thing. If somebody else receives information differently, how do we as teachers who know how to do a certain thing for ourselves, yet we have 10 people in front of us that learn differently, that access differently? It's like, how do we actually serve them in the best possible way so that we are not projecting our way onto them? You know what I mean? And so that's where it's like, without that chart, or without a knowing their human design map, or without, it's a very interesting, I don't believe in a one size fits all. Like in yoga classes, I love it when a teacher offers 7 different variations, because it makes me know she's attending to the range of human experience. And so I care about that. So I'm appreciating that you're bringing that distinction up. You're like, no, actually, I don't know what you're talking about, Charna.
I know what you're talking about. I just don't receive it that way.
Yeah.
And if I do, it's not my primary. So it might be it might be like somewhere down the line, but I receive it with my primary so differently.
Yeah.
But I know you receive it, and you're meant to receive it in your gut. So doing your reading, if you and I were talking, I would actually like ask you, do you listen to your gut? Do you have any gut issues? Like what because you actually have a strong connection there, but that's unique to you.
Right. And so I had, decades, when you were talking about these distinct age groups, and I followed that. You're on Instagram, you do great reels. I like the depth of your reels relative to a lot of people's.
Thank you.
But the age distinctions, I have been on an intense physical, I say that my body forced me onto a spiritual path. And that trajectory has been going since like 30 years old on, or even longer. There weren't these nice little breaks of like, this is when, I don't know, I'd have to really look harder at it of like when life begins at 40 or certain things. There's just been there was an ongoing healing journey, a huge one related to my gut, right?
Okay.
And I do believe that people who deal with like food allergy or reactionary issues and sensitivities, that it's really learning about navigating energy. That food is just a tool to teach us how we process our own and other people's energy and how we react to our own thoughts. So that's the sense I've made of it.
I think, yes, in your case, I've seen people have sensitivities to food with completely different frequencies. And for them, it's actually a different journey. But for you, again, looking at your chart, it has been the big theme of your life is your spiritual journey. And I mean, could we say that for everyone? Sure, we have different things, but for you, it's a gentle spiritual journey. I hope it was gentle. It was meant to be gentle. It wasn't. I'm like, Max probably said that. I'm like, I don't actually think it was very gentle.
Oh my God. God. That is hysterical.
Well, let me just say it is sitting in your karma. Okay. And whenever we have a karma, so I'm talking about your 15-6 right now. I'm sure you've seen that, the 15-6 in your karma. Whenever we have whatever the frequency is that's sitting in our karma, this is always going to be our biggest wound and our biggest challenge. So if for you, if it was stomach issues, like that's 100% where it'd be coming from.
Yeah. Stomach issues are just kind of a one piece, but yeah, it brings me to a different question. So a lot of time people manifest physical, like developmental trauma impacts our physical well-being. Developmental trauma impacts your way of thinking about things, which also then impacts your health long-term. And so not everyone frames it in terms of karma. I do think in terms of karma. Are you seeing a distinction between karma and trauma? Or when you see certain kinds of karma, are you going, oh yeah, I can imagine the trajectory of this person's life? Does that show up when you're looking at the soul contract?
What I see is I see themes. Now, I can see, I'll give you an example. If somebody has a 9 frequency in their chart, I can see that this is a theme of disempowerment. Even if it's not sitting in their karma, it could be sitting in their talent position because each frequency has a negative and a positive. However, if it's sitting in your karma, I know that the theme of disempowerment is probably a bigger theme in your life than if it's sitting in your talent. Okay, and what does disempowerment mean? Well, it's going to show up differently for everybody. I've seen clients that have experienced this as neglect as children, as abuse as children, all sorts of abuse. I've seen it show up as bullying. I've seen it show up as, physically abusive marriages. I've seen it show up as attracting narcissists. I've seen it show up as just having narcissistic parents. It's a theme of disempowerment. But the chart doesn't tell me, oh, this person was abused at 5 years old. Right. So I can see that is the possibility of trauma with the theme, but I'm never going to make that assumption. Because a lot of this also depends on the soul's own maturity and the situation that the soul was born into. So, there are a lot of like variants, I want to say, there are variables, but typically a 9 frequency, they're most likely going to have some sort of disempowerment.
And so one of the ways that I find it's useful to think about and look at trauma, right, is thinking about it as zooming out, getting this astral view, looking down and looking at it as a hero's journey, right? Looking at like how as you were mentioning earlier, how are these characters playing in this particular person's trajectory? What are the challenges or opportunities presented to this being? And how can the soul contract help if somebody is stuck in a particular cycle of either attachment to being a victim or telling that story, and their identity doesn't know how to step out of that? How can a soul contract reading assist in that perspective shift?
I mean, that's always my goal, is to give people a higher perspective and to help them shift, whether it be from victim mentality or just, what I find most of the time it's validation. I find most people actually know exactly what they're here to do, but they don't allow themselves that. The ego says to them, who do you think you are? Or they think it's so simple. How could it be so simple? Like for me, I'm like, people pay me to do reading? Like what? Like this has been my obsession since I was born. Like now someone's actually going to give me money to do what I've been doing for free my whole life.
Yeah.
It's ludicrous, right? But it's the same for everybody. Like everybody has that one thing. Again, it always looks a little different, but we all have that one thing that our soul, that's unique to our soul and so innate to us that we would do it for free. And we don't realize that people would pay us for it. We don't realize that it has value to other people because the question is like, who do you think you are to do this? So that's what I find in most of my readings. That's the thing, is this validation. Now, the victim mentality, yeah, sometimes people will come in with victim mentality and, I don't know, they might leave with the same victim mentality. Again, this depends on their own level of maturity. I tend to be pretty direct. I mean, I'm very loving, but I'm also pretty direct. I'm like, okay, these people aren't paying me to sugarcoat it. So like I had a client yesterday and I was like, I had to say to her pretty directly and pretty bluntly, and I'm pretty sure she heard me. I don't know what she's going to do with that information, but I'm pretty sure she heard me. I was like, I will tell you the one thing that, and this is more of like a clarification, souls come in to heal their karma. They're not coming in to suffer with their karma. So when somebody comes to me and says, can you look at my karma? Am I like suffering because this is my karma and because I'm a horrible person and now, I was abused, or oh gosh, or I had an abortion when I was younger and is now God punishing me? I hear this often, right? And that is not how karma works at all.
Yeah.
At all. So, karma is cause and effect. So if you have an abortion, that probably the effect is going to be that you yourself are going to be in pain. Like that's the karma. It's not, no one's going to come punish you for it, but it's going to, hurt you. And I'm giving a very generic case, obviously, like everyone has a different reaction. I'm just using a very common one that I get.
Wow.
So it's your own reaction to it is the effect. Right? Because even in a case like this, oftentimes the soul knows this isn't going to be a full-term pregnancy. Right? So the soul is like, okay, the soul that might get attached to it is the soul that doesn't even want a full-term pregnancy. So there, you know what I mean? I mean, again, there's so much more to say about that, but karma is what your soul's here to heal. So the trauma that happens to us isn't, it's not karma punishing you, but it's the unhealed energy within your soul that hasn't matured yet.
Yeah. The visual, I don't know why this is the visual, but this is what I see, the way I think of karma and other timelines. Do you know the Connect 4?
Yes.
Is that game, and it's like you drop the checkers, they go bloop, bloop, and then they pile up. I think of it as, like in this lifetime, I'd done so much healing around sexual trauma, and then I was feeling really vibrant and embodied and good and enjoying my sexuality, and then suddenly stuff started to happen on a physical level, like weird physical symptoms. And I picture it like other timelines where information, experiences, karma was not complete. It drops through into this timeline. And then it's like that. And so if you could, I'm curious if you have anything to say on this. I had a Zen teacher at one point talked about karma, that a fourth of the population burns through karma on a physical level. Haven't read anything about this, haven't heard anything else from anyone else. I'm curious if you have anything to say about that. So my experience, and it's in my Vedic astrology chart, that I will burn through karma, a lot of karma, and I will feel it in a physical level. And you're saying there's something in my chart about body. And so this is not going to be everyone's experience, that they have to physically feel the process of the karma landing and leaving.
Correct. That's not going to be everyone's experience. So if I had to connect that in your chart, I would say it's all your nines. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 5 nines. And the 9 is the most powerful frequency in this entire modality. And oftentimes it's very harsh on the physical body.
Yes.
So what you just said, I'm like, that sounds like that's all her nines. But some people don't even have a single 9. And so they're going to have a very different experience than you.
Wow. Okay. That's it. That's interesting that the chart shows that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, the experience of karma, very different for different people. How do you experience it? Can you, I mean, because that to me, when something shows up, I'm like, oh, here we go again. Oh, okay, I can feel that rope around my neck. Okay, going through that process now. How do you, I see it, and I can see the visual of it, and I feel the visceral experience of it.
So you're asking me how I experience my own karma?
How have you experienced when you're moving through karma? How do you know that it's occurring for you? Because it sounds like you have a different way.
Well, the karma I brought into this lifetime is all about heartache. Both of my karmic aspects, one of them is about healing the heart, and the other one is about healing and opening up my heart chakra. So majority of my life, my heart has been shattered, betrayed, put through the shredder. I mean, I used to tell people I have a PhD in heartache. Like, my heart was so destroyed that I got to a point that I didn't actually think I'd ever be able to put it back together in any sort of way. I also know that a lot of this karma is from past lives, and I know, and I know a little bit about my past lives, so just people know I don't actually do this in my readings.
Yeah.
But because I live this work, I know about my past life. So I haven't tapped too much into my past lives because when I tap into them, God, it's so painful. And the two that I've tapped into, one of them, I was betrayed by my best friend and my entire village. So basically, there's the death scene. I'm running through the village and they stoned me to death. That was one of my lifetimes. And it was literally everybody I knew and loved that did this to me. And then in another one, and it was after this lifetime that I stopped looking into my lifetimes, I literally saw myself being walked to, I don't know, they were burning me at the stake or hanging me. I don't know, but I had one of those like burlap sacks over my head, and I could literally I could see the sack, I could see my feet, and I'm walking, and I knew everybody in the audience were all my people. You know, like I knew it, and there was so much rage and anger and the betrayal. So all of that is in my chart, and so I'm here to heal all of that because I guarantee you, every single person I love in this lifetime was in those situations.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So my theme in this lifetime has been betrayal, abandonment, broken heart. So the themes keep playing out, but I'm here to heal that. I'm not here to suffer through it. Now, the thing that's helped me is the energy healing sessions that we do, what we were talking about earlier. I've been doing that energy work for 4 years now, and it has matured my soul to a level I never would have even. If somebody told me, you know, a few years ago, here's how it's going to go, I wouldn't have believed them. The amount of forgiveness, the amount of understanding, the amount of love, the good relationships I now have with some of these people that contributed to that, you know, my heartache. So at this point, I don't actually, God, I hope the karma's done. Like, I'm done with it. I don't want any more heartache. So I don't need, I'm like, Creator, don't you dare bring me any more heartache in this lifetime.
When you started doing the energy healings, did that start as you being in your own meditation, and then you just felt source coming through you, and then you decided from there to start sharing it with others? Or how did that become the practice it is for you?
Yeah, no, wonderful question. So my best friend is the one that taught me this work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so her name is Katie Kylene. She is the most phenomenal human being. Everybody needs to do a session with her. Sometimes I mention her on the calls, and sometimes
Mhm.
she'll actually pop in. So I don't know if you've ever been in a call where she's popped
Mhm.
in, but those are my favorite calls. I'm like, the teacher's in the house. So Katie is an incredibly gifted soul,
Mhm.
and her and I have done many lifetimes together. She started out as doing breath work.
Mhm.
She's been doing energy work for a very, very long time. And she has a very unique gift where she channels the creator. So she's clairaudient and she hears the creator. It's very, very rare. And I'm totally going to shorten the story for you. But basically, she was doing breath work and creator came through and was like, enough, no more breath work here, and gave her this information. And it took her about a year actually to compile it, because it's like, what? Like, because you know what we do? We sit in silence.
Mhm.
And she's like, you want me to tell people to come here and sit in silence with me? Like, they're paying me money. Like, breath work, you're doing breath work, And it's like, what is this, But the energy is so potent, and I'm so glad you've experienced it, right? Because if I were just talking about, it's like, what's going on here? But I was in her very first class that she ever taught.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so I've been doing this work since she essentially taught it to me.
Okay. And in your experience in doing this work, is there so basically we get quiet enough and we can listen internally deeply enough, and information comes through, just like it came through for your friend, for Katie. And I'm curious for you if there's more that's come through for you specifically that you've brought to us.
With the healing sessions? Not so much with the healing session modality. As far as this energy work, it's not so much about the silence. I mean, the silence in this work is important, but it's the actual anatomy of what's going on in our energy field as we're connecting to the creator. Because when the energy comes in, it comes in through our back. It comes out the heart chakra. And this is why when we begin, I tell everyone, if you feel heart palpitations, just relax. That's just you feeling the energy pass through the back and come out your heart chakra. Because some people are very sensitive and they're like, oh my God, my heart's beating. And I'm like, your heart's actually not beating. You're just feeling the energy come through. So just breathe through it. Okay, so the energy does that, and then it encompasses us, our entire aura. And we have so many energy fields within our auric body. I don't know them all, but there's a lot. I studied them, but like not off the top of my head. So and then the energy goes through every single layer of our being.
Yeah.
Literally every single layer. So again, if she didn't tell me this, I would not know, because I didn't have the gift that she does.
So something that is an important thing that you speak to is how forgiveness can be a path of liberation, of personal liberation. And I think there's so much charge around the concept of forgiveness. And if you could speak a little bit to that and how that relates to fulfilling your soul contract.
I think people have the wrong definition of forgiveness. The moment you say forgiveness, they think that you're saying forgive and forget and let them back into your life. And that's not at all what the word forgive means. Forgiveness is about letting go of the energy that's around the situation. It's about allowing yourself to not be a victim, essentially. And even when people do unforgivable things, and people do unforgivable things, like I'm, not naive to that. You're going to have to heal it in this lifetime or another lifetime or another dimension. You're going to have to heal it in this lifetime or another lifetime or another dimension, whatever. It doesn't go away. That's not how energy works. So there's a hook. If you want to get this person out of your energy field forever, you got to release the hook. And the way you release the hook is through forgiveness. Now, if you can't forgive, you can't forgive. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell somebody, well, you got to, like, you can't, if you can't do it, you can't do it. And sometimes you can't do it for lifetimes. I mean, why do we keep reincarnating? We're here to heal, and sometimes we can't do it. I get it. So this is where energy healing comes in, because let me tell you, like, there's been times in my life where I told my head, you need to forgive, but my heart was like, yeah, get the F out of here. We're not forgiving anyone right now. And in fact, there's been times where I held on to the anger to protect myself. So I get it. It's not an easy thing. But because I was able to find this energy work, and I've been deep in it for 4 years now, guess what? Creator comes in and does it for you. And that's why I love this energy work. Nothing about it is manual, because even breath work, it's got the word work in the name. You got to, so, and I love breath work. That's how I started, right? But you got to breathe, and it's hard. I mean, with this work, we just lay and receive. The only thing you have to do is relax and receive the energy, because it's going to come in. It's going to realign you. So if you're struggling with forgiveness, I recommend energy work, whether it's mine or somebody else's. But sometimes those deepest layers, we cannot reach them consciously, and we cannot let go of the trauma through talk therapy.
I mean, one of my other questions is looking at it's hard for me to believe what's in my chart is not what's like everybody's chart looks, that there's such a difference. And I'd be so curious. Have you done that? Have you been able to pull or look at Epstein's chart? And does all of that darkness show up in his chart?
So I have looked at his chart. I've looked at other serial killers' charts. I look at all the charts. I'm very curious. And here's what I'll tell you. The soul pre-planned, and the soul always wants to do good. The human, because we have free will, anybody that tells me we don't have free will is like not correct. Sorry, that's my opinion, but very strong opinion. We have free will. And because of your free will, you can go way off path, but you're still going to have the frequency. So I'll give you an example. Epstein brought in the theme of being charismatic. Okay, now did he use it for good? Of course not. But he still had that energy. Do you see what I mean? So like you, for instance, have this frequency of the nines. And the nines, they have the ability to destruct. Destroy and destruct. Now, if you were to misuse your power, you can cause a lot of damage. But because you hone in your power, what you do is you help people destruct their bad habits. You cause change for the positive. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the themes are there. So it's not like I see someone's chart and say, ooh, this is an evil chart. I actually wouldn't know that just by looking at a chart. Right? I mean, I could summarize what I think this person is going through. And most people aren't that evil, right? Like that kind of evil, that's a whole different category. So most people coming to me are normal people. And so normal people, I can usually summarize what's going on. But the ones that are truly evil, they'll have the same variations of frequencies, but they choose to use them completely differently than the normal, the typical person, I should say.
And so how can somebody, a typical person who comes to you and gets this reading, then take it and apply it in a pragmatic way? You're underscoring that, like practical application.
Yeah, so practical application would be like, a lot of it depends where they are in their life, but sometimes let's talk about your threes, because you've got threes on your chart, but if you were coming to me at 25 and I saw your threes, I'd be like, do you write? You need to be writing. Like you need, because what the threes, what they tend to do is they tend to push everything deep down and they'll disassociate. And because they're just shoving things down, they don't even know what's down there, and so the threes, it's actually really, because they're meant to be master communicators. It's so important for them to go deep into this hole pushed everything into, and in a healthy way, bring it out and speak it out, because they teach from that experience. So if you were coming to me at a different stage and, you're accomplished, that's what I'm trying to say. If you were coming to me when you didn't have these tools, then my goal would be like to give you the tool to connect to yourself, to get the information out that your soul wants to get out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Every frequency has its own thing. So as I go through the frequency, I try to give them the practical tool based on where they are in their life.
So 3 is about communication. And at 25, I was writing and performing.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Okay. All right. Well, I have no doubt, like you clearly are doing what you're supposed to be doing with your expression. I was just saying, when somebody, at 25, we don't always know what we're doing with our lives.
Of course. Absolutely. Yes. And so unfortunately, we as we do, we run out of time. How can people find you?
The best way to connect with me would be through my Instagram. So that would be soul_contract_practitioner. And I post on there daily. I post a lot of different spiritual wisdom, and all the links to connect with me are there. I do have a website. The website is yoursoulscontract.com.
Great. And anything else that you want to share before we say goodbye?
I mean, gosh, what else? I trying to think. I think the thing I want to leave people with is most people know exactly who they are and what they're here to do. They just don't give themselves permission. So give yourself permission, because your soul, I guarantee you, has never forgotten their mission.
Yeah. Thank you. And it's such a simple thing, but at a certain point, I got into the habit of, when I would have a challenge with another human, I would say to myself, I remember who I am. I remember who they are. I remember who I am. I remember who they are. Because it's, who we are in our most stressed moments is not all of who we are. And it can be really easy to reduce ourselves or reduce other people. And I just think of your charts as such a beautiful way to come back into remembrance.
Thank you.
Thank you for spending this time with me.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, rate, review, and share it with your friends. It's much appreciated. If you want to stay connected, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at LaidOPEN Podcast, LaidOPEN Podcast. If you go to charnacassell.com, you can sign up for my newsletter and be the first to know about discounts and events or groups that I'm leading. And you can read more about my work at passionatelife.org. This has been LaidOPEN Podcast. I'm your host, Charna Cassell. We all have different capacities, but I believe in our capacity to grow and change together.